Welcome to another edition of the Influence Global podcast, and I'm delighted to be welcoming my guest, Alexander Frolov, who is the CEO and founder of Auditor. Welcome.
Hello, everyone. It's good to be here.
Nice to see you. So today we're going to be talking a lot about how brands can avoid working with influencers that have got fake followers. Because it's an issue that sort of has dogged the industry for a while, although there have been significant movements, of course, haven't they, with greater technology to assess this. But before we go on to talk about this, perhaps you'd like to give us a bit of an overview as to what you do at Auditor.
Yeah, for sure. We launched Auditor in February of 2018, and we start from Instagram reports. So we basically analyze only Instagram accounts, and at that moment, like fraud detection system was one of our main features, and it helps our product to begin its growth. Since this time, Auditor becomes much more complicated tool. Right now, we support 4 networks. It's Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, and Twitch. And we have a lot more tools. We have tools to find influencers using a discovery tool to check all those reports for accounts, still with the best fraud detection system on the market. We also have like campaign tracking hub that can help you to understand how well your campaign goes, how was there any fraudulent activities or not. So it's basically for those who already run their campaigns. And the last of the tools we launched, it's a very advanced tool. It's a market analysis. We were first who basically measure all market size, and we have like information about all brand integration. So it helps you to understand what strategies other brands use, who is active in influencer marketing. So basically now it's quite a big set of tools that can make your influencer marketing effective.
No, thank you. So, I mean, going back to what you was talking about, which is a fraud detection tool, tell us a little bit about what have people been doing in the past? I mean, we've talked about buying followers. What does that mean?
Yeah, for sure. It always was a big issue for Instagram, especially now in Instagram. Like we measure all followers for accounts, all accounts, and we find out that only 55% of all followers is real people. The rest are bots, suspicious accounts, mass followers. Basically, there is a lot of fraudulent activity in Instagram. It changes over the time. When we begin, like one of the popular methods of fraud activity, for example, was mass following. Probably all who work in the industry remember it, like where different accounts follow other accounts massively just to get back their following. Instagram do something to avoid these fraud activities, and what we see, like some ways of fraudulent activities that works in the past, now they do not work. Now, mass following is example because Instagram create new limits that just make mass following too expensive and not effective. After mass following, there was like mass stories viewing. Like I think 2 years ago in the spring, it was like massive issue. Like you have like thousands of views that all was from some spam accounts. And right now it still happens, but in much lower volumes, but every day we see that like old ways of fraud is dying, but new ways of fraudulent activities is created. So it still lives for like stories viewing, but in less volumes. It's mass liking, mass commenting of our other accounts. Those methods is still alive. And what is most sad news that you can still buy bot followers. And there is still a lot of services that can sell you just fake followers. And there are still people who are buying it. That is most sad news, because like for 3 years already we work to fight with this issue, but it's still alive.
Wow. I mean, is there a list? Is there like a blacklist of these companies that we could almost establish? Because it just seems outrageous that there are companies that literally are selling these services. It made me laugh actually a while ago, given my role at the BCMA. Somebody DM'd me on my Instagram offering me the chance to buy followers, which it's just incredible, you know. But I think there's some ignorance about some of these smaller influencers that think, well, because there's so much competition to grow their audience, that they are, you know, as I say, unless these companies are driven out of business or stopped, then you know people are going to continue to do it. And this is what's so worrying, because it's giving the industry a bad reputation when this happens, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I think now one of the main reasons why this is still happen, because there is a lot of young, and not only young, people of various ages that want to create their account, that want to become popular. It's a massive trend, like a lot of people want to become an influencers, and they trying to grow in organic way, but they find out that it's just not possible in Instagram. In nowadays in Instagram there is like very few tools where you can grow organically without spending any money. So yeah, they just want to believe that there are way how to grow. It's in a fast way, but in nowadays it's just not happen. And I think that is one of the reasons why TikTok, for example, is become so popular. It's not because of the format of videos or um, like recommended feed we see before in like many services, but what they give to people, they give them a chance to grow organically. They give them the chance to bring attraction, depends on the what content they produce. So we see it was like one of the massive trends for last year, how people can grow organically by using TikTok. But in Instagram, they try, they find that it's very hard and they can do it. And they just ask Google, okay, Google, how can I grow my following? And there you will like find dozens of services that are basically just lying to people, saying them that they will sell them real followers. And they just do not know in many cases that buy bots.
Wow. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm guessing the advice also is that when you get followers personally onto your Instagram, with naught followers, and you can clearly see that, sorry, naught posts rather, you can clearly see it's either a bot or what people should do, I guess, is remove those
Yeah,
immediately
yeah,
and get
that's
rid of them.
right. Um, uh, but on some volumes, like when you already have a big account, it's quite hard to remove all. But at least you can have it as a regular activity, like while you check new followers, you can just remove all those who obviously spam, like some shops, like some accounts that must following with thousands of followings. Yeah, it's a good practice to remove this because right now on the market there is basically no accounts without any fraudulent activities. Every account have some like bots and some fake engagement, but depends on how many do you get them. Your account will look like better for Instagram. You account will look better for advertisers that potentially want to collaborate with you if you have like less of these fraudulent activities. So clean this activity is a like good routine for influencers.
Okay, now that's really interesting. And what's your view about engagement pods? Because that's another example of saying, well, actually, if we all collect together because of the way in which the algorithm works, that when it starts to see lots of engagement in a very short period of time, it pushes that out to a wider audience. Now, this has been an issue that's not just dogged one platform, all of them. You know, we've had Twitter bombs, we've had LinkedIn engagement groups, and I can see myself how successful some of those can be. But I just wondered what your view about that is.
Actually, it's quite complicated issue because we use one word like engagement pods for like many kind of activities. From where it began, I find like when it was like chat for friends who like run their influencer accounts and they just support each other. Now, in this way, I do not find like something very suspicious because like they really know each other, like they're interested in account of each other. There is no problem inside. But problem is in the services of this engagement pod, what it becomes. Like when you just put likes and comments to people you do not know, do not care about their content, and get massive likes and comments from the people who do not know you and do not care about your content. So it basically looks quite the same like any other fraudulent activities. It lives by the real people, but there is no real engagement. And especially if we are talking about using engagement pods to increase activity under advertisement posts, like under integration with brands, it's a clearly bad thing because you just basically lie to company who pay you money for this integration, and you just increase the engagement rate but not authentic way. So that's why in Hype Auditor we use machine learning to find behavioral patterns and to mark the using of the comment pods, especially on their advertisement posts, because it's so important. It's always on the side of our client to decide how do they think about engagement bots. We mark them separately from the bots activities. But for us, it's clearly not good way of growing, especially if we're talking about like brand integrations.
No, absolutely. So I guess the question following that is, how do brands measure authenticity?
Basically, that's what Hype Auditor needed for. Because like basically measure it manually, trying to find those activities using Instagram insights or something of the statistic that like Facebook provides you, just do not give you any answers, because Instagram and sites is based on active audience, and they just do not look at the part that is fraudulent activity. So you will never understand which part of followers is real and which is not. So there is why Auditor is growing fastly and have so many clients, because it's one of the things that you basically can't do manually. You need to use specific technology to measure authenticity. And as I say at the beginning, we start from the measuring authenticity of the audience following to accounts. Now we can measure authenticity of posts itself with the brand integration and say, are there any fraudulent activities or engagement pods? And we can measure whole authenticity of influencer marketing campaigns. So having these tools, it's very easy to understand how authentic was your campaign, how many target audience they were. And what we see right now, we create the grid where we show how the best companies in terms of influencer marketing acts on the market. And we see that even between best of the companies, there are still a lot who have many inauthentic activities. So this is still a big issue for industry. And for such companies, we recommend to implement technology and to measure those authenticity, because it becomes more and more important.
So just as a ballpark, what is the sort of percentage that you should be looking for? I mean, you said earlier that there's always going to be fraudulent activity on every account. What would you say is the standard measure to say, okay, you know, this is acceptable? I mean, is it 20% inauthentic, 10%?
It highly depends on the size of account, and there is um, much more complicated stuff, because there is like for make it simpler, we create a thing that we call audience quality score that can give you like a very simple number from 0 till 100 that says you how good audience of account is. But it's consists of several metrics, like for example, for followers ratio, there will be difference. Like for the biggest accounts, like 1 million and after, there will be like very small percentage of this suspicious activity allows. So in average, they will have like 10%, 15% of those inactive followers. But speaking about very small accounts, they can have like a lot of these activities. For example, for the guys from 5 till 20,000, the average number will be around 40-50% of fraudulent activities, and that's just an average. So in the bad cases, there can be like 80-90% of fraudulent activities, so accounts that are totally fraudulent.
And is there any particular industries that are more prone to this? Are there any other countries at all that are prone to this?
I would say that different countries, and mostly it depends on the country, have different popular methods of fraudulent activities. We have our industry report that calls Influencer Marketing State. You can find it on our website, and there is a lot of stats compared to industries and countries with the different ways. We find, for example, that for the Eastern Europe, there is a massive popularity of these engagement pods and giveaways. For example, in some countries, there are more followers that buy from the different services that are basically just bots. I wouldn't say that is there are something like very specific, depends on the industry. It more depends on the influencer community in each country, what they find acceptable and what they like share with each other, like a knowledge how to run their influencer account. So it more depends on a country. But in general, I would say that in all countries there are still a lot of fraudulent activities, and there are no country right now where you do not need to check any of those. So methods are different, like amount are different, but there are still issues like in any country and any industry.
Yeah. I mean, I guess the final question would be, what on earth can brands do if campaigns are going wrong? What's your thoughts on that?
Actually, for the brands, what I recommend and what do I find like most effective strategy in influencer field is build those long-term relationships with the influencers. And that's a massive trend in the industry, because even if even if you use all technologies to check the influencers, on this stage you will already save like a half of your budget just because you do not spend it on fraudulent activities and audience that you do not need. But even after using technologies, some of influencers were good for a brand just because they content fit, the audience behavior fit to your brand, and many of them will not work for you, even if they have authentic audience and good activity and so on. Just how the influencer marketing works, it very depends on the personality and how it connects to a brand. So I would recommend to run these campaigns one by one to find those influencers who are specifically work for your brand, and build long-term relationships with them. And this is how you can build your like quite big base of influencers that will be just basically advocates of your brand. And even for people, it's look like much more natural. If same influencer recommend your product like 10 times a row, they will think, oh, okay, probably this influencer really like this product because it's just not one time pop-up integration where you say, okay, I like this product, and like they before they say they like another product and so on. So it's much more authentic way in the general to build this base of influencers that effective for you, that you have long-term relationships, and by this way you can build a community of advocates of influencer who will build your brand popularity. So in this field, I would say 1 or 2 mistakes doesn't ruin your campaign, because it's a long play, and you can spend like a few years building this base. But the world changing this way that you must do it, because if you do not do it, others company will do and just win this competition. So you just have to find your strategy.
Yeah. And do you think the technology, I mean, AI has been a big part of what you do. Do you think the technology will be even greater advanced in, I guess you do, in years to come, so that we'll drill down even more? Any snippets on this area within your own organization?
Yeah, for sure. like for the previous and where we begin, as I say, you can use um, our technology only to check accounts and say, okay, there is my target audience, okay, there is no fraud. But right now, using technologies gives you massive advantage in the competition. You can see what all your competitors do, which influencers do they use, which posts give them great engagement. You can pick up much more targetedly and find right influencers. You can like track all activities that you run and measure effectiveness of all this stuff. So right now, the tools give you like massive advantage and do not only remove tons of handwork, but also give you insights on the market. For these insights, if you like run the all those tests manually, you will spend a lot of money. You will like spend like millions of dollars trying to understand which one is work for you, which strategy is better to use. But right now you have like a lot of intelligence that can help you to build the right strategy. And I think those who will use all technologies to spend their money smarter, they will win this competition.
Lovely, really good to talk to you today. Thank you. How can people find out more about Hype Auditor?
It's very easy. You just have to go to hypeauditor.com because there is massive information, a lot of publication from the different media sources, our own blog where you can find a lot of useful information, including this influencer market and state that I mentioned before. And more of that, our tool is one of the most transparent open tools in the market. So you can find example of reports, you can find influencer ranking, you can find this market grid with analysis of the market with the best brands. So basically, you can look at everything by yourself and have it on your fingers just to touch and make sense how it works. So I think it's the best way to understand. Just go to Hype Auditor, look at the product on the first view, and if you like it, just book a demo session, and our team will like guide you through all of the product and help you to understand how everything works.
Lovely. Thank you so much, Alexander Frolov, for joining us today.
Thank you very much, Gordon, to invite me. Thank everyone for your time. I hope you will like this session.